about the storm damage a lot.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I'm not seeing it, Laura, and not in my packet anyways.
I looked quick on the one online, I was looking at other stuff.
you guys all set?
Yes.
Okay, all set. So, good evening. It is Monday, June 16th, 2025. It's 5:30. We're going to begin this evening's meeting with the Board of Liquor and Tobacco Control. Are there any agenda changes or additions?
No.
Okay. Our next order of business would be to approve the minutes of June 2, 2025.
I'll move to approve the minutes of June 2nd, 2025.
We got a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by George. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to accept the minutes of June 2, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. The next up on our agenda are liquor license applications. We have 4 of them. We have an application from Soulmate Brewing Company for first class, third class, and outside consumption. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Lamoille County Post 9653, first class, third class, and outside consumption. Lost Nation Brewing, we have a first class and outside consumption in Morrisville Food Co-op for a second class. I'm assuming that Jason has approved all these.
Yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the liquor license applications for Soulmate Brewing Company, first class, third class outside consumption. Veterans of Foreign Wars, Lamoille County Post 9653, first class, third class outside consumption. Lost Nation Brewing LLC, first class and outside consumption. And Morrisville Food Co-op LLC, second class liquor license.
Okay, so we have a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by George. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the liquor license application say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that's unanimous. I don't see any tobacco license applications or special event permits. Correct? So I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Liquor and Tobacco Control.
So moved.
Got a motion by Richard, second.
Second.
Second by George. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. Yep. Okay, I'd like to call the Select Board meeting to order on Monday, June 16th, 2025. It's 5:33 in the evening. The first thing on our agenda is any changes or additions.
No.
Okay. We are beginning our meetings now with community comments. Is there anybody either online or in the audience that would like to share a brief community comment? Evelyn? Yeah, please identify yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to, hi, I'm Evelyn Throne.
Yeah, thank you.
You said Evelyn, but that's not enough, Evelyn Throne. I'd like to speak to the event that we had on Saturday with Bernie Sanders coming. It's really neat to be able to see our senator, and he didn't speak very long, but, and I wanted to thank anybody in the town, well, the police department and any people in the town who had anything to do with that, because bringing the community together, that was basically what his tour is about. And it was also, you know, like as Judy spoke, supporting our local businesses and, you know, highlighting the rail trail, because finally it's open. well, not completely, but finally it's open. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, everybody seemed like they had a good time, and I'm really glad for this community event that happened.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Next order of business is to approve our minutes from June 2, 2025.
I'll move to approve the minutes in second.
Okay, we have a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by George. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of June 2, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. All right. Next order of business under new business would be the sign the annual financial management questionnaire. Sarah, would you like to speak to that?
Sarah Haskins, Town Treasurer. This is an annual form that I need to complete every year. State statute requires it, just to make you aware of what I am aware of as the financial management as treasurer. There are no changes in any of our procedures from last year. So you don't have to, you just need to receive it and sign that you received the information from me. And if you have any questions.
On this financial management questionnaire, it does have a place for select board signature. So we would most likely make a motion to receive it, but also authorize somebody to sign for it. So I just had one question, Sarah, and I think we talked about it maybe last year too, because as you said, this is an annual procedure for you. I think it would be really helpful for the select board to receive a copy of the policies and procedures, just, for old members, new members, just so that they have them and to review them, just in case they ever have any questions. I just think that from a public policy point of view, that would be helpful.
Okay. Judy has a whole book in her office of all of our
Okay.
policies, and don't you, that Abby put together?
Yeah, and they're all in that.
They're all in that.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody have any questions for Sarah?
I do not.
All right, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to receive the annual financial management questionnaire as presented by Town Treasurer Sarah Haskins and approve Vice Chair Chris Palermo to sign the form on behalf of the Select Board.
Okay, so we have a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by George. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right, and that would be unanimous. Thank you, Sarah. Our next order of business is ambulance write-offs. Would you like me to speak to it, or would you like to speak to it, or?
I can speak to it if you'd like.
Sure.
So on an annual basis, the select board reviews write-offs as recommended by the finance director. So there's a memo in the packet from Tina Sweet, finance director, to me, titled Uncollectible Ambulance Accounts. And for this year, the request is a write-off $32,511.68 for ambulance calls from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. 841 calls were made in this time period. 312 calls were no transports, that's approximately 37%. 529 calls were billed. 70 of those calls need to be written off, that's approximately 13.23%. The majority of the calls are people who didn't pay, have no insurance, or no contact. 34 paid nothing on their balance, which is equivalent of $25,124.20. So again, and then the FY 23-24 billed calls totaled $377,123.80. So once again, the requested write-off amount is $32,511.68 and represents 8.62% of billed calls. The net EMS revenue received was $273,475.48. Other revenue received was $30,525.24 for a total of $304,000.72.
All right, thank you. I think it's worth noting two things, really. One is that Tina Sweet, our finance director, spends an inordinate amount of time working with families that owe EMS statements, tries to work out billing payments over time. Actually, this year's write-off is almost 1.25 points less than it was last year. Last year's write-off was 9.7%. This year it's 8.62%. Every ambulance service in the state runs against the same issue. On an annual basis, it's a cost of doing business, and we're not going to deny anybody services when they call us if they're in our service area. So I think that I want to thank Tina for her due diligence and the ambulance service for all that they do, and I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the write-off of $32,511.68 for uncollectible ambulance calls for FY 23-24.
Richard made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I do have a question.
George seconded that motion. Is there any discussion?
Yes. Brent, is it possible, when we get to budget talks, I'm just curious, with our next conversation going on, what percentage of these write-offs are from Elmore? I know we don't have it right now, but just for the budget, it'd be just kind of interesting to see.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
Laura stole my question.
Pardon?
You stole my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right. Please.
Is this a question and concern? Did I miss the opening where? I missed
Public
the
comments.
Comments. Do you do it at the end too?
No, we just do it at the beginning.
Okay.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any other discussion? I don't see anything. All those in the favor of approving the motion to write off $32,511.68 for uncollectible ambulance calls for fiscal year 23-24, say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous, Judy. Next up is Elmore EMS annual payments. Brent and Don McDowell, our chair, were invited to a meeting in Elmore this past week to discuss what we assumed was our agreement, what they assumed was the agreement, the difference therein, and I would like to turn the floor over to Brent to update the board and tell us a little bit about the meeting.
Yeah, so some background, some point, likely April, Tina let me know that we had received only partial payment from Elmore for this fiscal year. The invoice went out and late in the year, and when payment was received, we only received $30,500 rather than what a lot of people assumed was supposed to be a payment of $35,000. The assumption was based upon a meeting that former Administrator Eric Dodge had with Elmore back in early January 2023. And subsequent to that meeting on January 17th, 2023, Morristown had a select board meeting. And I'm just going to read the minutes for context for you all. Discuss Elmore EMS subscription was the agenda item. Eric Dodge attended the Elmore Selectboard meeting recently, requesting an increase in the cost of service coverage for Elmore ambulance service. Historically, there hasn't been an increase over the past 4 years. A suggested percentage increase of $9,000, which represents approximately a 35% increase. The Elmore Select Board has offered to pay an additional sum of $4,500 for 23-24 year and another increase of $4,500 for 24-25 year, totaling the requested $9,000 increase. A motion was then made by Judy Bickford to accept $30,500 from the town of Elmore for 23-24 and $35,000 for 24-25. The motion was seconded by Brian Kellogg, and it carried 5-0. So based upon that information and a brief note that was provided in response to the invoice and the $4,500 variance, Tina asked me what I'd like her to do, and I said, well, please follow up and get further information. Tina was then told that they didn't budget the $34,500 or the $35,000, not only in this fiscal year 24-25, but in fiscal year 25-26. So there's a little bit more back and forth, waiting to receive something in writing. And then finally, I emailed and asked, if Don and I could either speak with the select board chair or if we could attend the select board meeting. And they're very welcoming. So last Wednesday, the 11th, Don and I attended the select board meeting. Members of the current select board that were on the board at that time don't recall it as being that concrete. They recall it as they're agreeing to try to reach that funding level. There was a former select board member in the audience who stated that he recalled that there was an agreement, and he had earlier told Don that he was the one that made that motion. So Don and I proceeded to discuss the costs for Morristown residents per capita versus Elmore, and the significant cost savings that they have. We provided a spreadsheet that was created. And basically at $35,000, it equates to about $34.42 for each Elmore resident. And Morristown residents pay approximately 3 times that. So, Don introduced the conversation and brought up, that we'd have to look at more equity in this relationship. And then I got up and I spoke, just letting them know that one of my first Public Records Act requests was from a resident who wanted information on calls, how many calls were for Morristown residents, how many calls were for Elmore residents and others. And so, reinforced that Morristown is happy to work with other communities, be a partner, but, we are looking for equitable partnerships. The select board expressed multiple concerns with the costs of EMS, Morristown EMS. I reminded them that throughout the state and actually the country, EMS services are going bankrupt. I'm actually signed up the next day after that Elmore meeting, a international organization for municipal managers and administrators actually sent an email out on that exact topic. So I'm signed up for that. And I've been providing lots of information as follow-up about what other communities, not only in Lamoille County, are paying for their EMS services, but also, a couple others that I thought could provide comparable numbers for them to consider. So just, I don't know, within an hour of this meeting, we left asking the Elmore Select Board members if they could respond to us to let us know what their plan was for this fiscal year and next. If they could do that in approximately a month, like a couple days after their next select board meeting. So we received a response about an hour ago, and nothing in the response addresses this fiscal year short, but it does state that they would pay for next fiscal year, which begins in July, the $35,000 amount, but it lists multiple, well, more than 11 requirements, reporting, information, talks about things like stakeholder reviews, where Elmore Select Board would be involved in an EMS oversight panel. So I'm left, wondering what the status is of our current fiscal year payment, because that's not addressed in this response. And then, I handed these out before the meeting, tried to give you all a heads up that this had been delivered, and if you could take a review, you take time to review it.
Okay, so with all of that being said, I have a few thoughts, and I'll share them, and then we can decide how we want to move forward. It's very disappointing that the purpose of Don and Brent going to the board meeting was to ascertain why we weren't paid the $35,000 this year. Our agreement that we had, that we made this board made a motion on, took us up through the end of this fiscal year, June 30th. So there is no tacit agreement moving forward as of July 1. As I look in this audience and online, and I see taxpayers sitting here, knowing that you pay 3 times what Elmore pays for the exact same service, that does not sit well with me. I think that if you take a look at the per capita fees, they should be paying close to $105,000 a year for the service. I believe that now would be an opportune time for Elmore, because life is about choices, to seek bid process, or however they want to approach it, for EMS services for their community. I think Morristown would be glad to give them a bid price on it. But I think that it is unfair, and it's time that it ends, that we continue to provide services at a discount for other communities. I think it's an unfair burden for the taxpayers in this community to do that. And I think that this would be the time to have that conversation with Elmore and say, you're welcome to get a better price someplace else, but this is where we're at, and we're happy to give you a price, but we also would expect you to pay the $4,500 that was agreed upon for this year. So that's 5 cents worth of my opinion for free. What are your thoughts?
I can say, as currently sitting here, I'm the only one who was here on 23 when the budget failed and we started over again. This was a huge concern at that time. So this is the 3rd year in a row we're discussing this. So this is not new. It was very clear to us at the time that the contract was in place for the payments to accrue. So I'm incredibly disappointed that all this time is being spent, because I think we entered into it in a very good faith, and I resent us being made the bad guy. Also, I was the liaison for EMS, so I learned a tremendous amount. You know, what we pay for is, a large part of what we pay for is the ability to pick up the phone and call. That is huge, and there is a huge cost, and all that equipment sitting there and all those people being ready to go 24/7, 365 days a week. And the thought of, that it's only if we pick up somebody is really just sad. And I will agree with Chris at this point. I know what M's charges. I've seen all the charts of their cost, that if you contract with NIMS. I don't even think Hardwick contracts, but I think, and then to see this 11 demanding, all this extra paperwork is just annoying. It's just annoying. I will say the other sad thing is that up until this current president, there were motions at the federal level, because currently we do not receive any Medicare reimbursements for, the only reimbursements we get from Medicare are if we transport. So we have the numbers here, the number, so if EMS goes to a house and you refuse to go to the hospital, Medicare does not reimburse for that. So that's an enormous cost for us. And unfortunately, just going forward in anticipation of what's to come, pretty sure that legislation's going to be gone for at least 4 years. So we need to anticipate that is a cost that we will continue to assume and unfortunately be responsible for. So we've got to budget that in. So I agree with you, Chris. Thank you.
George?
I feel the same way. I think the town of Morristown has always tried to be fair with the town of Elmore, where we've shared services in those costs. This two-page document is the height of unfairness and demand, and just tells me where the current select board of Elmore stands around the appreciation they should have for the ambulance service that Morristown provides to its own citizens, but also extends it to them for a very reasonable cost of money. To be spoken to or written to in that tone of voice is a discredit to not only the board and to Don and to Brent, who went there open-minded, trying to resolve a situation. And it's also disrespectful to me, to every citizen of the town of Morristown. It's our ambulance, let's be blunt about it. Our ambulance is our service. Do we want to go to Elmore? Sure, if we can. Of course, we don't want to leave them out in the cold, but this is not us. This is their select board leaving their citizens out in the cold. And it's a very different situation. The only thing I would say that Chris didn't address, and probably because we'll get to it soon, is I would not want to sever the service to Elmore without giving them a fair amount of time to conduct whatever business they want. Just go out and look for a contract, take it out to bid, whatever that is. I would not want to endanger lives in the community of Elmore by short-sightedly, in my mind, saying, by June 30th, we're done, figure it out. That's not a fair line, in my mind. It should be a business line, but we can't do that because there's people at the end of each of these calls, people that need service, medical service. But within whatever this board decides is a reasonable amount of time to grant Elmore to go through that process or not go through that process, whatever they want to do, that'll be up to them, is absolutely the way I would want to go. This letter kind of ends any good fellowship that might exist between the Elmore town board and the Morristown Selectboard on this topic, as far as I'm concerned.
So, I don't take this personally. This is business. And I guess, to put it in a different context, you have house insurance for a reason. You hope that you never use it, but you pay for it every year, and the price is the price. The ambulance service is no different. You're paying a price for readiness. And at the end of the day, I mean, I have a family member that's lived in this community for 8 decades and was a founding member of the EMS and ended up for the first time having to use it about a month ago. But has paid for it through their property taxes and was thankful that it was there, and they did an excellent job. And I think that perspective needs to be in mind here. It's one thing to look at just strictly the numbers and the cost of doing business, but it's also the fact that it's a necessary and valuable commodity.
I feel like Elmore and Morristown have been good neighbors for as long as I can remember. We shared a lot of services, but we're at a time where the EMS budget's $800,000 a year. When that came up 3 years ago, I was shocked that Elmore's piece was so low in relation to the number. And I was thinking at the time, 100,000 would be a good start to get back to where we had some sort of equity with the numbers. Just for instance, Hyde Park has a population of around 2,500 residents, and their EMS budget's $150,000 for NEMS. So they're a little bit more population-wise, but that's where the number is. These numbers aren't out of line, in my opinion, but $35,000, it's a gift. And to not pay that rubs me the wrong way as well, to deny that number that was agreed upon.
May I add some context?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'll be paraphrasing here, and I think that they post now their select board meetings online, so anybody who's interested can watch it.
It's not up yet.
It's not up yet. So I'm paraphrasing, and I might get some things wrong, but one, it was brought up, we're compared to Highgate and to Essex, or 2 towns that I recall, and our costs per capita are exceptionally high in comparison. So that is a concern with them if you're looking at, if we're looking at to continue charging into the future based upon that, they are concerned with management of costs. So, and the second thing that was brought up by the select board chair was that we should be concerned of losing the $30,000 contributed by Elmore if it were to be lost. So I wanted to just provide that further context, I think, about why they are asking for all this information to be reported on a quarterly basis and annual and et cetera. And these numbers that we provided to them, we made it very clear that for whatever reason, I'm not sure, this formula was created around 2023, but somebody thought it was unfair to include the cost of the truck in the calculation, so they removed the cost of the ambulance. So this is really everything but the ambulance cost per capita. But considering we've been in a negotiation for a year and we're in mediation with the union, I made it clear to them that, again, reminding them that EMS services around the country are going bankrupt. You can read about it, Brattleboro and other parts of the state as well as nationwide. And right now I'm in a negotiation with the union, and costs, like with everything, are increasing. And, I'm looking at cost controls, but this is an insurance policy. It's another thing I stated. You pay high insurance for your home, your auto, and other possessions, and you hope to never have to use it. But you pay it because you never know if you're going to have to use it. So I just want to provide that further context about why this letter may have been focused on so many of the things that it lists.
I would just say too, you know, simple facts like the cost of gas. You know, we have to drive much further and the cost of gas is much higher, so that's, you know, goes into our cost. But I will agree with George in the fact that, and I'm not sure because budgets are done so far out, but that we do give them some kind of timeline because we don't want to leave their residents unsecured, but I think we have to have an agreement that in our mind, this was good until July 1st, so going past July 1st, we're not gonna cut you off, but there will be a different payment scale, because they can hustle and, you know, but we can't, I don't think we can keep accruing debt because they wanna take their time and, you know, they've known about this, and it's a call. There aren't that many options out there.
So, two things I would throw on the table for discussion. One is that the board made a motion, we thought they made a motion, we need a contract.
Yeah.
So from now on, moving forward, there needs to be a contract between municipalities to provide services that clearly state what the framework's gonna be. So that would be number one. Number two, I would like to see Elmore pay what we all feel was due in the 24-25 budget, which would have been, they would still owe us $4,500. And number three is that because there is no agreement beyond July 1st, that we would give them till July 30th to seek other avenues. We would be glad to give them a price on services and would expect to hear back from them by July 30th. I think that gives them a month and a half to seek other remedies. If they feel that they can get a better price someplace else, more power to them. For me, as I look at taxpayers here in this community, losing $30,000, $30,500 from Elmore, it's more about the principle for me than it is about the dollar amount. It's about the relationship and the willingness to work together on this. And I've seen this not unfold the way I would like to. So it's the principle of the thing. I can't see Morristown residents continuing to pay 3 times what Elmore does.
Agreed.
So that would be my proposal. I think that we don't meet again. We have a special meeting on zoning on the 26th. We don't meet again until mid-July. I think that if the board was comfortable sending some sort of statement back to Elmore from tonight's meeting, I would entertain that. If you so desire not to, then we can move on.
I think we should take the timeline that you're talking about, Chris. If we wait till our next regular meeting, we're into July.
Yeah, mid-July.
And so I think we need to do it tonight. I think if we get that document out soon, we're really giving them 5 to 6 weeks of receipt. If they're not expecting us to, they're expecting us to just fold into this, I think they're missing the boat. I think 5 or 6 weeks is plenty of time to contact local ambulance services and see what's out there. And more power to them if they can find an ambulance service that meets their needs for a lower price. So I would support that. I think we need to move. I think we need to make a motion and move forward.
I feel that that's more than fair. Just reading some of the requests that they are asking of us, it's, in my opinion, it's completely out of line, especially given the fact that we have been such good neighbors. person willing to work together. These are, makes me upset, frustrates me.
It does.
We're at this point where
It-
we're asking for timelines and time of dispatch and things like
Yeah.
that, where we can't expect that. We could do the same thing, mutual aid with Stowe. We have an ambulance that's out in Hardwood Flats, and we've got somebody on Bridge Street that needs service, and the ambulance is 20 minutes away. It's the same,
Yeah.
that's not an appropriate
So
conversation.
can I just add, having been the liaison with EMS, I used to get a monthly report from EMS, and they actually keep a really detailed, they'll tell you exactly. So some of this is already done by EMS through their software. So it wouldn't be necessarily us, however, and I think it's readily available. But I would say that, we need to move on this because we're going into budget talks, and we need to know how, it's part of our budgeting process, so this can't drag out.
So I would entertain a motion to say that, this is just discussion at this point,
Yeah.
That we would continue service up until July 31st or until they have contracted with a different ambulance service, that we would be more than willing to give them a bid price, and that anything moving forward would be a written contract agreement.
And this would be a monthly rate for the month of July. Are we assuming that we're paid up through June? If they give us the 4,500?
Well, and that
How
would
we
be the
good?
fourth piece, is that we would
Okay.
like to get the $4,500 for this fiscal year as agreed upon, that we are not going to leave their citizens high and dry. This is more about their population and us being benevolent. That we would continue service up to 7/31. Honestly, a month here and there, I guess we can be benevolent that way. Ambulance calls are generally billed to insurance, so it's not like you're doing this as a freebie. And we would expect some sort of correspondence from them on whether they want to continue a relationship with us before or at July 31st.
Would you want to set a date on the response from them?
Before July 31st,
Okay, still before, okay. We would have one of those.
up to or before July 31st.
Does that address the number going forward? That's like a question that I have. We've got a budget, we have a budgeted number of $35,000 for next year, correct? Is that where we're at?
For fiscal year 25-26, which starts July 1st, we have a revenue of 35,000 projected, which they're saying in their letter that they will pay the 35,000, even though in their meeting they said that they hadn't budgeted that, they'd only budgeted 30,500, but they will pay the 35,000 if we provide.
All these conditions.
Those conditions, yeah.
And they don't address this current fiscal year where there's 4,500 short.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move that we communicate with the town of Melbourne regarding the EMS services of Morristown, that the town of Morristown will continue service until July 31st or until the town of Elmore notifies us that they have contracted with another. As well as that we anticipate the payment of the 4,500 due to us from FY '25. And should they want to include us in the bid process, we would be happy to submit a bid. Did I get everything that you had mentioned, Chris, or do we need to?
No, I believe you did.
Okay.
So we have a motion by George. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by George, a second by Richard, conversation. Any discussion?
Judy, is that your mouse, the hand on, I think it is. Or does he have his hand raised? Yeah, thank you.
Jerry?
Jerry Throne. It seems to me that if we're going to develop a price for them, should they desire to take that option, that we should all have the same price per resident. That would be the fairest thing, rather than being able to give them a discount and everybody else, well, a discount for Elmore residents and everybody in Morristown has to pay more. That wouldn't be fair. I wouldn't think that would be something that you would agree to do either.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Sarah?
Not to be nitpicky on your motion, and maybe you're intending it to be a little gray, my interpretation of how it's reading right now is you're giving them sort of an ultimatum, a deadline of July 31st, or until they contract service. So what if that's not till July 31st, 2028? I feel like that's pretty gray right now.
Okay.
Good point.
Yep. Wasn't aware of the sentence, Sarah, but thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Yep. Saying it in words and the intent are two different things.
Yep.
So what's the realistic timeline for an RFP from another?
I think you put in July 31st, 2025.
Yep.
Yep.
And say that's it. So what about contracted services after that?
I think that they
That's
would,
what Sarah's saying, right? It's like, if we leave that off until they can find another provider, that's kind of what.
That was not my intention. So I appreciate Sarah's being nitpicky, because that's my job usually, and so if the motion said we will continue service until July 31st, 2025, yep. Or until no, I don't want to get there, no.
Not until.
Go ahead, Sarah, help me, yes, please.
There needs to be a set date. to give
Yeah.
them the
I don't
opportunity.
feel like I can help you because I'm not 100% sure that I really understand your intent 100%. So I understand the July 31st. Is that a hard deadline? Or is your till you contract services, meaning what if they have something on July 15th? Is it sooner? Or is it a safeguard if they don't have something on July 31st? I guess my question is, if they don't have a contracted service on July 31st, 25, what next? What happens?
Okay.
so my understanding of state laws is that if you do not provide EMS services within your community, that you need to contract, because everybody is entitled to that form of public safety. So it's really incumbent upon any municipality that doesn't have these services to contract with another community to provide those services for your citizens. So if the motion talks about the fact that Morristown will provide services up to July 31st, or to the point prior to July 31st that you have a contract with another provider, that gives more clarity to that. So it says we will do this up till July 31st, 2025, or up until you have contracted with somebody prior to that date.
So it's no later than.
Yeah, let me try.
That's more, I think, where Sarah was
Right,
going.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, let me try this again. So let me just, I'm sorry.
Brent's wanting to.
If I could just be devil's advocate.
Yeah.
And working with municipalities previously, not directly with municipalities, nothing
No.
moves forward at what I would consider a private industry rate, or so. Is approximately 45 days appropriate?
That's what I was
So-
asking. What's the normal
well,
time
so-
for an RFP?
There's always exceptions to the rule. Everyone knows that you put a deadline in. If you can't meet the deadline, you call and make other arrangements. So, and, you know, we are saying you have until this date. They can come back to us and say, we can't do it, provide, and at that point, we then can negotiate how we protect them. But by the state statute, we need to be clear and clean this up for us. So I believe that we should put a deadline in, and that anybody always has the ability to come back and negotiate, you know, and say, we need another month, we need, you know, more time, but that gives us the power to negotiate, because we can't just keep going on at this rate. And again, because we've got to get into a budget. So that's my feeling, is that, you know, and,
That's what I was saying, it's like, because that was my concern, is
Yeah.
the snail's pace of municipal government and all the warnings and everything that has to happen. Would we be better off to say August 15th, to just say that's it, and that's a hard, I don't know, I don't know that.
So to be perfectly honest with you, I think 45 days is adequate. You know, they meet once a month. They weren't going to meet again until July 9th, yet from, what was it, Wednesday night to 4 o'clock this afternoon, they were able to come up with this. So I think that deadlines are deadlines. I think it's up to them to provide services to their community. We're willing to walk down a path in terms of a bid process, but this isn't Christmas.
and the reality is, there's 2 companies that they can call other than us. I mean, maybe Stowe, so maybe 3. But, you know, it's not a national search, it's a local search. So it's, you
I
know,
just wanted to put it out
Understand.
there, you know, y'all considered the time.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying into perpetuity,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Yeah.
So no later than
July
July 31st.
Yeah.
That's what my.
Yeah, so if the motion were amended to say, to provide EMS services, although the S is services anyways, to the town of Elmore, but no later than July 31st, 2025, or terminate sooner if another contractor is attained by the town of Elmore. But no later than,
We don't care if the contract,
no,
I mean, not that we don't care, but
yeah, but, or until,
it's irrelevant.
yeah. You want to try it, Richard?
No.
And again, this is a conversation that's been going on for over 2 years, so this should not be surprising them.
How about something like the town of Morristown will continue to provide ambulance services to the town of Elmore until contracted service is in place, or no later than July 31st, 2025.
Thank you.
That works, thank you.
the only clarification on that is, do we want to indicate that we're happy to bid?
We, on a separate sentence, we could do
So
that.
that needs to be included in the motion.
George, I think the language you might be looking for is whichever occurs sooner.
Yep, that's good language, Jerry. Yep, thank you.
And then to address, I think it was Laura's comment, what you could do, you could put at the end and say, unless otherwise agreed to by the,
Yeah, that would,
if we say that, then that means that if they want to extend, you have the power to decide whether
yeah,
or
that's,
not.
yes, that's, so that we're not just cutting them off at the
Yeah,
knees.
right, unless decided,
The appearance.
unless the parties decide otherwise.
Got that, Judy?
Good, see, I'm glad you passed that over that way.
That's what I heard.
I gave him.
Yeah,
So Judy, would you like to read that motion back, since there's multiple hands in this?
no, because there's too many parts and pieces, but I can tell you, like, town of Morristown will continue to provide services to the town of Elmore no later than July 31st or sooner if contracted with another service. And then something about open for discussion. on a later date. That's the only part I missed. But remember, I have 2 different recordings that I can catch this on.
Right,
And probably what I'll do is, make sure that I have it accurate, before it goes into the final minutes
Okay,
with you folks.
What, I would like to add what Jerry suggested.
Yeah,
July 31st,
yeah,
or until it's sooner,
yeah,
whichever comes first.
whichever comes first.
That I think is a good addition to that.
Yeah. You'll all see this before
Yeah.
it gets posted, so.
right. So the context of this motion is that we will continue to provide services up to July 31st or beforehand if they have other contracted services with a different department.
Yep.
And there was another piece to this that
Be part of the bid process.
we would be open to being part of the bid
Bid
process.
process. Yep.
And that it would be a signed contract.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, are those 3 components of your understanding?
Did you get the unassigned contract? Okay, thank you, Judy. You're doing better than I was. Which is usually true.
Did you write that down as a motion?
I didn't get the very last thing you said, but I kinda did.
Do we need to start this all over again and I make a motion on that, or?
I think that for clarity's sake and the fact that it's a recorded meeting, that a clean motion would be appropriate.
Okay,
So why don't you, whoever made the motion now,
I made it.
yep, why don't you move to rescind your motion, Richard would rescind his second, and we'll,
First and my second.
I moved to rescind it.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we've rescinded the prior motion, Judy. So we start with a clean slate.
So what did we say after Morristown would be open to participating in the bid process? What was after that?
And it would be a signed contract.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that, Judy,
The town of Morristown will continue to provide services to the town of Elmore no later than July 31st, 2025, or sooner if, whichever comes first. Open to being part of a bid process and having a signed contract in place.
no.
You
No.
missed it.
What did I miss?
The contracted service. I think Richard has it.
It's an add-on line then.
Okay. Town of Morristown will continue to provide EMS services until a contracted service has been established for said services or July 31st, 2025, whichever comes first. Morristown will be open to participating in the bid process with a signed contract. Is that it?
Let me see.
We add in the town of Elmore.
Oh.
Yep,
Yeah, no more.
yes.
Oh, details.
Takes no motion on the fly.
Well,
That was close.
Yeah.
That was good.
so the motion was that the town of Morristown will continue to provide EMS services to the town of Elmore until contracted services had been established by another agency or continued service by Morristown on or before July 31st, whichever comes first, and that we would be open to participate in the bid process with a signed contract. And our expectation is that they pay us $4,500 for this current fiscal year.
And I would add to your motion just because it's a mess. July 31st, 2025.
Five.
2025, yeah.
Yep, they could get us on
Okay.
that one.
That's my motion, and I'm sticking to it.
So George made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Brent, do you have anything else you want to add to it? Add to the conversation here?
No, I don't know if you want to put it out there to the public again before you vote.
We can. Would you folks like us to reread the motion one more time?
Just comments.
Okay. All right. Is there any other comments that anyone wants to make? Evelyn?
Evelyn Throne. I have paid it, I haven't read the papers that were given, but I feel confident that you are not just being reactive to the last comments that Elmore made, but that this is the culmination. And as Laura said, this is business. And I think it should be handled going forward in a business-like way. And I think you're headed that direction, and that's good. There is so much involved with the EMS, and how when Jerry and I did that at the kitchen, it would have cost twice as much, and that's $20,000 that they were doing without. They had a lousy kitchen. They're also now looking at putting 2 new doors on the garage. This is not stuff this is stuff that is necessary for the quality to continue. And ambulances and everything. It's very expensive. And, I appreciate it being done correctly. I appreciate the whole situation with Elmore being done correctly.
All right, thanks, Evelyn. Anyone else? Yeah, Alex?
Alex here, I live here in Morrisville. Just as has been somewhat discussed, I do think whether the town reduces its EMS service area or gets more money from Elmore, it will make getting the votes for the next budget through easier. And I wonder if after this it might be time to discuss the library with Elmore.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would be unanimous, Judy. Thank you, everyone, for your help and the input on that.
Thanks,
Can-
Sarah.
Just one follow-up.
Yes.
It wasn't the most. Brent, will you take care of a letter that codifies this motion to
I'm going to have Judy circulate
the
language
motion?
of the motion
Yep.
that I will quote within the letter.
Okay,
And then
great.
I'll circulate it to the select board and reach out individually, just to make sure that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, 2025 anticipated plan for road projects. Jordan St. Onge, Highway Superintendent, you are on.
Thank you. Quick little recap on summer 2025. Spring started off pretty good with a relatively easy mud season. As soon as the roads dried out, we replaced 8 culverts, including 1 on Moran Loop, 1 on Elmore Mountain Road, 1 on McKee Road, 1 on Churchill, and 4 on the paved portion of Cody Hill. We then started ditching and deburring, completing the paved section of Lower Elmore Road, the entire length of Churchill Road, and the paved portion of Cody Hill, which we also stone lined in preparation for paving this summer. We added some inexpensive slope meters to our graders to achieve proper crown and had our gravel roads in good shape, ready to apply calcium chloride. And then we were hit by a thunderstorm with torrential rain on May 25th. That severely damaged 18 roads with an estimated repair cost of over $32,000. And to kind of put that into perspective, we hauled over 125 dump truck loads of material in order to repair all those damaged sections. And at the same time as repairing them, we tried to make them more flood resilient as we went. The damaged roads include Samoset, Long Branch, McKee, Sterling Valley, Cole Hill, Call Road, Mud City Loop, Golf Course Road, Lawrence Farm Road, Magoon Road, Ross Hill, Gallup Road, Fraser, Moran Loop, A.B. Street, Needle Eye, Neal Road, and Katie's Falls Road. All sustained damage during that May 25 storm. The storm did help us prioritize some of our most flood sensitive areas, and once we had everything patched up, we started rebuilding them to be more flood resilient. That included a complete rebuild of Samoset Road, that included ditching and stone lining the entirety of the road. And we're now working on ditching, deberming, and stone line, or ditching and deberming the entirety of Coal Hill Road and stone lining nearly the whole length of the road. There's a couple sections that are pretty level that don't need the stone lining. All this is to prevent these areas from being washed out again. So we got our gravel roads back into good shape and have begun spraying calcium chloride. It's doing a good job. It's reducing the dust, and more importantly, it's helping us get compaction that keeps our roads smooth and prevents the potholes from forming. As you're out driving around, if you see those gravel roads that look dark and really smooth and really hard, that's from the calcium chloride. Not all the roads have been treated yet, and we're planning to apply some more calcium chloride next week. Some of the work that we have planned all summer long, we'll be ditching, deberming, and stone lining around town every chance we get. Included in that will be 7 hydrologically connected sections that will be paid for by the V-Trans Municipal Grants and Aid. That grant and aid is $25,250 we'll be receiving. They'll include parts of Fitzgerald Road, Lower Elmore Mountain Road, and Bliss Hill. And those are all hydrologically connected, stormwater runoff going into streams. We also have several more culverts to replace. 2 on Coal Hill, 1 on Walton Road, 1 on AB Street, which is Feline Loop. And as part of the Better Roads grant, we're being awarded in the amount of $18,335 with a $4,500 in-kind match. We'll be replacing another culvert on Sterling Valley Road near Pumpkin Hill. We'll be replacing 1 on Moran Loop and 1 on Cottage Street just above Randolph Road. We're anticipating finding and replacing several more failed and undersized culverts throughout the year, but those are the ones that we have planned. The sidewalks throughout the village need lots of work too. With a mix of contractors and our team, we plan to fully replace around 1,500 feet of sidewalk, making them ADA compliant, more welcoming to walk on, and easier on our sidewalk machine to plow. Some of the sidewalks we're considering are Court Street, East High Street, Lower Bridge Street, Brigham Street, Wilkins, and Howard Street. In addition to those full replacements, we'll also be replacing numerous individual sidewalk panels throughout the village, including some on Brooklyn Street, Munson Ave, Foss Street, Jersey Way, and Foundry Street. Paving, that's a big one everybody's probably curious about. Our paving plans this year include a mix of full depth reclamations, shim and overlays, and mill and fills. The paving will be done by SD Ireland, they won the bid, and the shoulder and gravel will be done in-house with our team. And the timing on it's a little bit fluid, but it's currently planned for August timeline. Walton Road, including the Morristown Four Corners intersection, started there, headed out, is gonna get a 1/2 inch shim and overlay till right around just before the bridge near Coal Hill. From there to the end of the Walton Road, it'll be getting a full depth reclamation and 4 inches of mix. The entirety of the paved portion of Cody Hill will be getting a full depth reclamation and 4 inches asphalt. The Favorable Bridge on Bridge Street will be getting between a 1 to 2 inch mill and fill across the bridge and a replacement of the plug joint on the expansion end of the bridge. That's that big bump that you hit every time. We've also been recommended for the award of the structures grant, which will pay for this work, as well as for media blasting and painting the metal structure of the bridge. That bridge is made out of A588 weathering steel, and has not been holding up well to our climate. As you drive by and you look at it, the surfaces that get washed by rainfall are in decent shape, but it's the underside surfaces and anything that doesn't see rain is rusting really bad, and that rust has turned into scaling, which is turning into material loss, which threatens the life of the bridge. This media blasting and painting is a 35 to 40-year fix, and we're hoping to get it done this fall, but it may end up slipping into spring of 2026. There's not a lot of bridge painters around, and they're pretty busy. The total cost of this bridge repair with the painting, the paving, the plug joint, the line striping, everything is around $305,000. But we've been recommended for approval on the award, Structures Grant Award, which is $175,000, which would be covered by the grant. Bridge Street at the intersection of Portland Street, where we had the water line break. There's that big hump right as you come around the corner.
The speed bump.
Yeah.
So that, when that water main broke, we're suspected that the surface of asphalt was undermined, and that there might be some voids, and the sub base is not good. So that's gonna be getting a full depth reclamation and 4 inches of asphalt. That work is gonna be paid for by Morristown Water and Light, or Morrisville Water and Light. Richmond Street will be getting a combination.
Can I just ask, when is that planned, and can we put some kind of notice, because you don't see it? It's really dangerous for people. I'm surprised that we haven't had more complaints.
It's planned in conjunction with the rest of our paving in August.
Yeah, because right now it's dangerous. I mean, you literally don't see it and, you know, if you swing out, you're in the other lane. I don't know if there's a way to,
Bump sign on that telephone pole, maybe.
yeah, you can just something, because it's
Something
bad.
basic, yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
Yep, we can add a bump sign. Richmond Street will be getting a combination. That's gonna be a mill and fill in front of the library. That'll include the parking stalls that are directly in front of the library. And then going down the street, it'll be a 1/2-inch shim and an 1.5-inch overlay. We're also recommended for the award of the Class 2 roadways grant, and we'll be using that to pave 1.1 miles of Stagecoach Road just before the Stowe line. So as you go the last mile in Morristown, where it's got really bad delamination, there's all those really big but kind of shallow potholes. That is also on the list to be paved, and that is gonna be capitalizing on some state funding. The total project amount for that in Stagecoach is around $168,000. The grant amount will be around $135,000, and the match will be around $34,000 with about $10,500, which will be in-kind match with us doing the shoulder gravel.
So with all of those projects between sidewalks and bridge repair and paving and such, we are within what we had projected originally for the budget.
Yep.
With the grant money that comes in.
Yeah, with the grant money, it allowed us to do a little bit more, to really stretch our dollars, but we'll still be within the restraints of our bridge and infrastructure fund.
And these are all state funds, not federal funds?
Correct, yep, would not receive any federal grants. It's, we got the Better Roads grant for some culverts. We got the Class 2 roadways grant for Stagecoach. We got the structures grant for Portland Street Bridge, and those are all state grants.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So what percentage of this work this year, what is the percentage of the overall work that you think needs to be done, is gonna be covered by this year's work?
You mean the amount of work?
I know what you did, that's a lot, there's a lot there, but we all know that there's a lot more that needs to happen. Like Katie Stalls Road for me that's the speed bump on the bridge, no matter what vehicle I'm in, I'm gonna lose my teeth.
Yeah.
And I know that's a more involved than just a, shim and.
Yeah, I think we have several years of aggressive
Similar to this,
rebuild, similar to
this
this.
schedule.
Yeah, for several years. Yeah, I don't think it's not a one and done or even 2 and done. I think, we get 3 years of this, we'll be sitting in a lot better. And then I think at that point, we'll be able to start getting to more of the maintenance than the rebuild. And we all know that's far more cost effective to maintain it in the first place than to rebuild it when it goes completely bad.
So I think it's important for everybody to recognize the fact that it's FEMA money that came in that's allowing us to invest in this kind of paving and reclamation of sidewalks and whatnot, as well as the state grants that you have applied for and received. But that's most of that is a one and done. So what we're going to be facing moving forward is a revenue stream to continue what needs to be done. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say, on the record, I said it to Jordan before the meeting, but I want to record it, that, I've been driving around the roads this past week, and the work that you and your crew is doing is phenomenal. It looks great, it looks very professionally done, and I think it's going to stand the test of time much better than what we had before. And I really do appreciate your leadership, plus what everything you've just read through tonight. It's a very welcome addition.
Yeah, I've been working really closely with the crew, and I do more of the planning, but all the credit on the execution and the quality work that belongs to the crew. So they've definitely been stepping up.
And I will just throw out that Tony's been able to get his cars out, and for anybody who doesn't know, he just won the Essex Car Show because he was able to get his car out, so. It's the little things.
Is there anything from the community? Ron?
Ron Stack. Thank you. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing, but I was looking through the handout and there was nothing written that I just heard. So I was wondering if it's written up there before you select board members on the topic that was discussed now. As an engineer, I would like to have known the improvements that are going to be happening here in the town. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Yes, Dan?
This is no way criticism either.
Would you introduce yourself, Dan?
Oh, yes, Dan McLaughlin, Morrisville.
Thanks.
I've been using the alternative route here in Morrisville. I usually go up and down Pleasant Street, around Railroad Street to go down Bridge Street and vice versa, and out to the park. The Railroad Street and Pleasant Street is a no man's land. And I didn't know, again, watching the striping this last week and that, which is great. By the way, I go up and down Elmo Mountain Road all the way, at least 4 times a day. And it's excellent, considering the way it's been in other years. So thank you. But I didn't know if there was some way, even with a fog line, it doesn't really need like a double yellow line like Portland Street. But people get to that intersection at the bottom corner and between the garage and the vehicles there, and deliveries and stuff for Guy's Farm and Yard. And then, of course, people at the restaurant parking over in front of the everything is, it's like a big parking lot. It's not a road. And I didn't know if even just some guiding lines, you know, like I say, like a fog line, down the middle of the road, so people go, oh, I'm supposed to be over here, or I'm supposed to be over there. I think it would also help some of the delivery trucks know when they're in the road and when they're not, you know. Again, I know sometimes that's their only alternative, I understand that, but I didn't know if that's possible and or how much more that costs.
So I think that the chairman of the board is sitting right here
Yeah,
and took notes, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I appreciate the work.
Is there anyone else?
We got Alex.
Yeah, Alex?
Alex here at Morrisville again. I drive on Bridge Street a lot, as I'm sure we all do, so I'll be very glad to see that resurfaced.
Yep. Thank you. All right, moving on. Consideration of discontinuance of dead-end roads that do not meet minimum requirements according to the town road policy. And Jordan, once again, is here to make some recommendations and give us a review.
So this presentation is a review of the substandard roads. I think it can be more of a discussion, so please feel free to comment and ask questions throughout. Give you a second to pull it up here.
So just quickly, I'm going to say this is something that also has been going on for 2 years. We were alerted to this 2 years ago. The select boards opted not to move forward because we didn't have the data and the information to really make a good assessment. So I want to thank you for getting that for us so that we can move forward on this.
Absolutely. Alright, so the first slide, should we do the next one after this? All this is taken directly from our road policy. And number 1 is the existing road network shall be reviewed by the select board at least every 5 years to determine if dead-end roads that do not serve a public purpose should be downgraded or discontinued. The next one here, section C, road and access standards, discusses the width. And it also states that access roads to 2 or less properties shall be determined to be private driveways and shall not be serviced as town roads. So properties is not defined in our zoning bylaws and our road policies. So I tried to provide as much information as to what is on these roads as possible. So this presentation lists the number of owners, houses, and lots. And the interpretation of properties is kind of, I guess, can be left up to you guys. So some points to consider is the whole point of this review is to be fiscally responsible with taxpayer money. Roads with public interest such as public land access have been omitted from this presentation. And there's 19 roads that we're gonna talk about. 18 out of the 19 roads that we're gonna talk about are classified as private driveways per the town of Morristown road policy. A big thing to keep in mind here when we're talking about these roads is the plow route cycle time. These narrow roads are very time consuming to plow. They don't have good turnarounds, they're very narrow. They, you end up, you think it's a short road, so there's not much to it, but you still have an intersection and you still have the turnaround at the end, which are the most time consuming parts of plowing a road. They're also very narrow, which, increases the risk of property damage for the people that live on these roads when we come through a really narrow road with a big single axle or tandem axle plow truck. So they really take a lot of time. And plowing these driveways, these private driveways, adds time to our plow routes, which limits our ability to effectively serve the broader community. And there's times in the winter when we have the snow falling really heavy, and we'll be out there and we'll plow the whole route before everybody wakes up. And by the time we can get back to start our route again, it looks like the road was never plowed because it's snowing so heavily. That's the impact of our plow route cycle time. And when we're playing around on these small little private roads, it really takes away from the service that we can give to the rest of the community. Another thing to consider is our financial liability. We do receive state funding based on how many miles of road we have, and that equates to about $1,730 annually for Class 3 roads.
That's per mile.
Per mile, that's what they give us. Per mile, they give us $1,730. So these roads that we're gonna talk about total up to 3.56 miles, or just over $6,000 annually is the financial gain of these roads. The maintenance cost on these roads is estimated at closer to $50,000, which greatly exceeds the funding that we receive for these roads. The biggest expense obviously is plowing, a little bit of grading. This number, it's kind of a broad stroke, it doesn't involve everything. So if we have to go through and do some ditching, or we have to replace a culvert, or we have a washout, that's in addition to this. That storm that I talked about earlier in the last presentation that caused about $10,200, or cost about 32,000 repairs, 10,200 of that was repairs done to these private driveways, which is right around 32% of total repairs. So that kind of highlights the financial liability that these roads present. It's not just the maintenance costs that we know we're gonna incur, it's the damage costs that can happen. Along with that is the bridge maintenance and replacement. 2 of these roads have concrete slab deck bridges, and the cost to replace one of those bridges to a town standard is around $1.2 to $1.5 million to replace one of those bridges if it gets washed out. So that's not a significant financial liability to the town. It's highly unlikely that those will be washed out because they're concrete slab bridge decks, meaning the concrete abutments and the concrete deck are all one piece, and those ones are both anchored in the ledge. So it's highly unlikely that they're gonna get washed out, but if they deteriorate over time, the concrete starts to fail, whatever happens, that's, both of these that have these concrete bridge decks, we'll touch on them here.
Can I mention one thing before you move on to the, so having been on planning and DRB, been talking about this for a while, we used to, the standard for building the roads was 20 foot. Here it says minimum, but the standard was 20 foot. At some point, they decided to go to a standard of 24 foot because they wanted to go to bigger plow trucks. So my understanding is, and my road was greatly affected by, because we were built to 20, but they're plowing 24, and it's made a huge impact of everything going into the ditches. There are no ditches. So I think we have to take that into consideration, that having driven some of these roads, they are tiny. And I think they were, to get a small truck was in there, but now to get these big trucks in there, I don't know how you do it, but I think, I've got to think that there's more damage and more ditches being filled up, because it happened to my road. So I don't know if we need to get a clarification going forward, building roads, that everything gets built to 24, because there's a lot of roads built to 20, but we're plowing to 24.
Yeah, well,
So-
the road should be built to 20 with a 2-foot shoulder on either side. That isn't necessarily a traveled portion, but it's part of the road that's there. But it's definitely a problem, and a lot of these roads are so narrow. We'll go through, I have the width listed next to each of these roads. And the first one here is only 15 feet wide, so to try and plow that is very difficult. So these roads are all unique, so I asked you guys all to drive them, and so we could have a discussion and discuss them individually. So I think we go through these and kind of talk about them one by one. So in Vermont, towns are required to maintain access for milk trucks. These first 3 roads had dairy farms at one time, but they no longer ship milk. So I think that's how a lot of these became roads that we maintain, and we still maintain them.
Is that still a requirement by the state? If we're shipping dairy, we have to maintain the
I
road?
believe so, yes.
Oh, interesting. Thank you.
So Cloverdale Drive is the first one. It's 1.15 miles long, it's class 3. There's one owner, one farm, one house, one lot. So I think that one's pretty clearly one property. They no longer ship milk. It does not meet the width requirement, it's only 15 feet wide. And as you drove that one, the owner actually has a different driveway that they plow. And the road, that's actually Cloverdale Road that we plow, I don't believe is even used very often, even in the winter. We go through and we plow Cloverdale, but then they go through all winter long and they plow their driveway across from their street. So I really think we're plowing that for no reason. Is there any questions or discussion on Cloverdale?
No, Cloverdale's off from Stancliff Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Are we making decisions tonight or
We
voicing our
can't make
opinion?
decisions tonight. All these roads require a hearing,
Okay,
so we'll need to figure out how to schedule hearings, how to prioritize.
okay, thank you.
If you all decide that you want to move forward with that.
Got it. Thank you.
So McKee Farm Road's the next one. That one's 0.06 miles. Again, it's one owner, one farmhouse, one lot, no longer ships milk, does not meet width requirement. It's only 18 feet wide. And if you drove that one along with Cloverdale, I mean, we're plowing in between farm buildings, and it's really cumbersome and really slow and really tricky to plow. Lanphier is the next one. That's one owner, one lot, one house, no longer ships milk, and the farm has actually been subdivided. So if you go on our property tax maps, that farm frontage is actually now on Route 15. So it's just one house up there. It's not even a part of the farm. It, again, does not meet width requirement, it's only 14.5 feet. So that's another private driveway, just one house up there that we're allowed for.
And just a minute, none of these have turnarounds, having driven them. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
I don't know how you get the truck out
They're
of there.
questionable at best. and
Yeah.
Yeah, they're difficult. Neil Road's the next one. That one is a one owner, multiple buildings, and it's actually 28 lots. I'm not sure if y'all drove up that one, but it's quite the area up there. It does not meet width requirement, it's only 17 feet wide. And that also has the town-owned slab deck bridge, which with a replacement cost of around $1.2 to $1.5 million. That one did receive some damage during the storm. We're estimating the repair cost around $900. That one, we still have some work to do up there. If you drove it, you can see there's still some washouts on the side.
So the repair wasn't on the bridge, it was on the road.
On the road, yeah,
Right.
yeah, no repairs to the bridge.
Just for clarity's sake here.
Yep, with that one, with it being 17 feet wide, to try and maintain it to be two-way, but to also put a ditch in, it doesn't work.
No.
So it's really problematic for us to rebuild that in a way that's gonna meet a standard as well as, be flood resilient. Whereas if it was non-town road, and it was just a driveway, and it was just a single car width, you could have a nice big deep ditch on either side, widen it out, and.
Yep.
Call Road is another one, one owner, one house, one lot. That one is only 16 feet wide. And that one also has a town-owned slab deck bridge with a replacement cost of $1.2 to $1.5 million. That one was also damaged in the storm, not that bad, but $400 in material, or in costs, including the material.
Call Road is one of your longer ones, right?
Yeah, Call Road is a longer one. That's 0.35 miles of road that we're plowing
Right,
for
3
one
tenths.
resident. Samoset Road is another long one, 0.32 miles, class 3. That's one owner, one house, 4 lots. does not meet width requirement, it's only 17 feet wide. That one does have a stormwater collection system on the side. As you drive up on the right-hand side, there's actually 3 catch basins. So there is some infrastructure on that one. It has a pretty steep grade and lots of runoff, and there's 2 neighboring properties at the bottom of that road that have historically experienced some damage during heavy rainfall. So that's something to consider. You know, if that road isn't maintained properly, it could affect the 2 neighbors down at the bottom. When that washed out completely, and the storm we had this year at the end of May, it was completely washed out. You could not drive a vehicle up it. The repair and upgrade cost was around $7,000. That repair that we did has made that road far more flood resilient than it's ever been. And I haven't seen that road, you know, before October, but I'd wager to say that that road is more flood resilient than it's ever been. So I think we've given everybody the best chance if possible to have a road that's gonna stay intact and be maintainable. Sand Ridge Road, that one is off of the road out to Elmore. That one is 0.08 miles. And that one's very bizarre because you drive out 0.8 miles and the road continues, but the town portion stops.
Right.
So it's 0.08 miles of town-owned class 3, and then an additional 0.4 miles of private road that we don't plow, we don't maintain.
Right, because there's a separate sign that says, like, it's
There's a
something-
private lane sign
Yeah.
right there. And so, you know, there's only one house on that section that we maintain, and then there's several more houses up the road on the private section.
Quite a few on the back, yeah.
But you would think that they already have a long section of road to maintain.
So John, just for clarification, this is a good one to raise it on, because there's a private road that feeds off of the, what is now the class 3 road. Your statistics around houses and lots are only applicable to the public road, the class 3 road. Whatever's on a private road beyond that, that's not included anyway in here.
That's correct, but Sand Ridge Road is the only one in here. All the others dead end at the end of the town road.
Okay.
This one continues past our town dead end. So you're correct that this presentation says the owners that live on the town portions.
Okay.
But other than Sand Ridge, the town portion is the entirety of the road.
I thought there was one other one I drove
Yeah.
to, that there was a
Off of
road that
Garfield.
continued, and I can't think of the, wait a minute.
Off of Garfield? What was the one off Garfield? You go through a company, it's confusing. It was a road, and I was like, is that a driveway, is it a road?
I thought Neil Road had what appeared to be a continuation. I did not drive
So,
past that
yes.
first house.
Okay, so that Neil Road does continue. If we flip back to that one, there's nothing further on it, but there is a section that's class 4. So Neil
Okay.
Road is 0.1 miles of class 3 that we maintain.
But there is nothing further out on, quote, what's the private road?
There's nothing further up, just
right.
0.15 miles of
Okay.
class 4.
Thank you.
Yep. So next up is Leper Road. That's 0.09 miles, class 3. That has one owner, one apartment building, one business, and 2 lots. The apartment building and the business are all the same owner, but it's 2 structures and 2 lots.
Yeah.
And that's a paved road. So over time, as that asphalt deteriorates, the town's gonna be on the hook
Yeah,
to
that's a weird one.
pave that driveway.
And that's a weird one.
So now we're getting into the roads with 2 owners. Legue Road is on this list. That's 0.12 miles. That has 2 owners, 1 house, and 3 lots. That one does meet width requirement, but it does not meet the standard of properties. If you look at it as owners, houses, lots, potentially you could consider it, but there's no
structure.
No structure. 1J Farm Road, 0.45 miles of class 3. That has 2 owners plus an LLC that I couldn't see who the owner of that LLC was. 2 houses, 3 lots. It does not meet the width requirement. It's only 17.5 feet wide. And the house at the end of the road is a vacation home / Airbnb. And I believe there's 1 full-time resident, I believe, with an Airbnb behind it. That I can't say for certain, but you know, it's another one where we're plowing a driveway to a vacation home on the taxpayer's dime. Ledge Road, 0.03 miles, class 3, 2 owners, 1 house, 1 apartment building, 2 lots. That does not meet the width requirement, it's only 14.5 feet wide. And if you drove that one, you'll see that 1 house that's listed here, there's 2 owners, 1 house. That 1 house, their driveway actually connects to Washington Highway. So what we're really plowing is a driveway to an apartment building.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the town's maintaining the driveway to an apartment building. Vermont Made Acres over off Garfield Road, that's 2 owners, 3 lots, 1 house, and 1 business. The business and the house, I believe, both have the same owner. They have both their mailboxes are right at the same driveway. And the lot at the end is a business. And on that one, somebody has actually replaced the street sign with one that reads private road. It now says VT Made Acres private. So I think it reasons to believe they would like it to be a private road and us to not pay to maintain it.
We can oblige them.
But again, we're plowing the road to a business on the taxpayer's dime, and it's really a driveway. Wyman Road, 0.1 miles, class 3, 2 owners, 2 houses, 2 lots, does not meet the width requirement. Chafee Road, 2 houses, 2 lots, 2 owners, 2 houses, 2 lots on Chafee Road, 0.35 miles. And then Ross Hill, there's 2 owners, 2 houses, it's actually 5 lots. But if you get to the end of that road, it's a pretty beautiful horse farm, and that's what we're plowing to. That one was also damaged by the storm, and that was a bigger damage cost of $1,900. Tyne McKee Road is another one, 0.45 miles, 3 owners, 2 houses, 3 lots, and it does not meet the width requirement. It's only 18 feet wide. Davison Road, 2 owners, 2 houses, 2 lots, does not meet width, only 17 feet wide, and that one really does not have a good plow turnaround. We do damage up there every year trying to get turned around on Davison Road. Stearns Road, another 2 owner, 2 house, 3 lots, 0.1 miles, class 3 road. And then there's one road on this list that actually has 3 owners, Stubtown Road. That has 3 owners, 3 houses, and 3 lots. But if you drive down that one, it's very short. You end up plowing around this guy's garage at the end, and they have said that they would like that road to be turned over. So I believe that the owner would like us to stop maintaining that road.
So question, if an owner requests, can we stop it without a hearing?
My understanding, state statute is we need to require a public hearing even if the owner requests it.
It'd have to be
It's not significant, it's you
just a
show up
formal
at the
request.
location, you've announced a public hearing. And a public hearing can be in multiple locations, as far as I know.
Every road has got one.
So, yeah, we just do the formal process for them.
Yes.
Can I add one other thing too? The one thing I noticed was, especially on some of these longer ones, while you're listing the length, we have to think in terms of it's actually double that, because the plow's got to go down and back, so, you know, that can be significant, especially on some of these longer roads,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, if you look at, if we go back to
So the actual mileage is,
the financial liability, that number of $50,000, that plowing, salting, sanding, at $143 an hour, that's saying that it takes 15 minutes to plow these roads. Some of them, maybe, some of them, maybe more. Once you start having to do 2-3 passes at the turnaround, 3-4 passes at the intersection, some of these roads take more than that. And that cost of, right around $34,000 to plow them all winter long, that does not include the cost of, in the most instances, sand. But in the case of leper road, that would need salt. That doesn't include the cost that we're spending on that.
Right, because it doesn't include the cost of material. So.
And this is all based on if we plow that road 50 times in a winter.
yeah,
And, side roads we don't keep them as clear as our main roads. So, a big storm will maybe plow everything once, then go around our mains again, and then our sides again at the end of the day. But we were out over 100 times this last winter. So, I think to say that we plowed these roads 50 times is a very conservative estimate.
So do you have to wing these back at all?
They're really difficult to wing back.
I was gonna say, I mean, the
They
way.
get choked out a lot. We end up oftentimes having to plow with smaller pickup trucks with
I was
the
gonna say
pickup instead of the big dumps.
Man, you can't get this truck. I could barely get my car in some
Yeah,
of them.
and then, I mean, and it creates an issue for the landowners as well, because the plow, it only throws, their big trucks, they only plow snow to the right. It's not an angleable plow.
Right.
So lots of times you end up with an absorbent amount of snow going onto these homeowners' lawns, where if they were to
Yeah.
contract it, they could have it done with a smaller truck, and they could, take much better care of their roads and their property.
And I have one more question. When I moved here 25 years ago, I came from the city and first snow, realized that my road was not being plowed. And so I walked up many a day, and I was told at the time that they would not start plowing my road till there were 8 houses. So we had to wait till there were 8 houses. I don't see that do you know anything about that?
I've never heard that, no. If it's a town road, we plow it.
Well, yeah,
Whether
but
it has 1 house or 8,
yeah, I was told it would not become a town road until there were 8 houses on it.
That might have been a former policy
I'm just
that the
wondering.
select board put in place. It's because it sounds like it wasn't a town road yet,
No, it wasn't.
so.
It was being taken over by a developer, so they
Right.
didn't take it over until there were eight houses. And so consequently, I walked home for 4 years, which was fine, but I'm just wondering where that status is currently.
yeah, I'm not aware of that one.
So it must be going from developer to being acknowledged as a town road is the criteria.
So there's certain requirements that you have to meet to have to be a town road. Is it 5 properties there? 5 dwellings? Is it
3.
3? So 3 dwellings.
So if it has access roads to 2 or less properties shall be determined to be private driveways, is what our town policy states.
And it has to be at Class 3 road specs.
Minimum 20, yeah.
Correct.
So it's twofold.
Yeah, and so a lot of these are substandard based on width and capacity. All of them, except for Stubtown, are substandard based strictly off of the amount of houses that are on it. And it all comes down to being fiscally responsible and using the taxpayers' money on something that benefits the taxpayers. So there's some roads, like Bryant Pond Road, where there's public interest at the end of that road. There's a hiking trail, there's a pond, so that's not even on this list, these are private driveways that are only serving 1 or 2 people, and the town's paying to maintain it.
Well, I will say, again, having been on planning and DRB, that, 9 years we've been setting these standards, setting whether it's a town road or private road. So these are all roads that have been here for a long time, I'm assuming. It's certainly over 9 years. Do we know I'm assuming that.
I'm not sure how long
Yeah, I
these
don't
have been
think,
town roads now.
yeah, I think these have been around a long time.
No, the first few at least,
The
under
dairy-
state statute, were required to be maintained as town roads because they were operating dairy farms.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going through all those roads pretty quick. Were there any individual roads that you guys would like to talk about individually more, or anything that you noticed about some of them that we were plowing?
The only one I couldn't find, to be honest with you, was that Wattajane Road.
Wanton J.
Wanjay.
I couldn't find it either.
I couldn't find that road.
The street sign's actually across the street from it. So you see Wanton J's on the left, the road's on the right, but it's out at the end of Walton Road before you get to the Johnstown line.
Oh, okay, I couldn't find it, yeah.
And that one's a pretty impressive when you get to the end, and it's quite the structure at the end there.
I think that your presentation tonight is much more thorough and indicative of what we were looking for. I
Yeah.
truly appreciate, I had talked with Jordan about getting what the state aid to highways funding is, so that we can have that breakdown in terms of the road length. So we could show the difference between what we get in revenue from the state to support our roads and what the actual costs are. I think that brings it into perspective really well, and so I thank you for doing that. I think that if the board decides tonight that they would like to move forward with having a conversation on this, then the next step would be to schedule public hearings that would actually take us directly to the road, to have a public hearing, and then we would come back to this building and have a conversation. I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't do multiple roads in one night, kind of do them in sections. So there's not a lot of travel time, but I think they need to be warned, and time set to do that.
And because they're currently, because we've had this problem, certainly in DRB, where we had, viewing sections, and because it's private land, there were some concerns. So opening it to the public, so I just want to make sure we're clear about.
Right now, we'd be standing on a public road.
That's right, yeah, so that, that if we have a public hearing,
Stay on the road.
public's invited,
Right, and these are currently public roads.
yeah, so there's no.
So I've got a couple of questions, and Chris, I guess I'd like to ask you for clarification. Are you talking about having a hearing for all 19 of these roads?
Yes, I think
Yes,
the recommendation is coming from.
Each road needs to have a hearing.
Yeah, I'm clear that each road that we designate needs out of this list of 19. I'm asking, are we talking about every one of the 19 roads?
I think the recommendation from Jordan is to consider these 19 roads. I would concur with that recommendation. And that's that's part of his scope of expertise and recommendation is. And through the public hearing process and the decision-making process, that's really the meat on the bones in terms of where we land on this. And whether we decide to do all 19 or we do 18 and 19.
Based on the hearings.
Will be based on the hearings. But I
Okay.
think that with this presentation, that we owe it to walk down the path of looking at all 19.
Okay, that was one of my questions. The other one of my questions was, based on the road policy footnotes of when the policy was initiated and whatnot, it appears the original policy was in 1985, then substantially revised in 2015, amended in 2018, 2019, and the most recent one was the one that Chris and you and Don, I think, was sitting on the board at that time. My question is there any position where an owner could claim they had grandfather status? That the road was public before even the first policy was adopted in 85? And I don't know what was in that policy, so that leaves me the question of, we went 30 years before the next policy, 2015. Does that establish the potential for somebody claiming grandfather? I don't know the answer, but I just like
I
to.
suppose anybody can claim anything.
Yep.
But the select board has control of the roads for public good, necessity, and convenience.
Mm-hmm.
And the select board under statute is required to at least every 5 years review it. Former select boards can make decisions at the time, but they can't lock even that current select board into the future, or future select boards structured in different fashion into something into perpetuity.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that.
So my understanding, while I know you're not an attorney, is grandfather, anybody can throw it at us, but you don't believe that's a viable argument?
Not only do I not believe it, but I've spoken with folks that said somebody might try, but under state statute.
Okay, those are my two big questions about whether we're trying to do them all or cherry pick some, but if we're gonna do them all, then there's no question about, I was gonna talk about some kind of a protocol about which ones we're picking, but if we're picking them all, then we don't need a protocol. So that's fine.
Well, this discussion is for y'all, like if you or anybody else thinks there's a road on here that shouldn't be on here for a reason, you can discuss that tonight. What I was hoping is that, we just sort of get, we don't need a motion, but tell Jordan and I to work on, based upon where these roads are, what do you recommend? Like, do we hold one hearing on all these roads? 2 hearings, 3 hearings, over, and then we stay those hearings, and then you're back in here to finalize discussion.
Who gets a notification that a hearing on X road, pick any one of them you want, I don't care, is gonna happen at such and such a time and such a place?
The whole town, we'd have to post it in the newspaper, but we would go out of our way, especially to notify, personally, the people who, or the residents, business owners, et cetera, that own properties on these roads. So it'd be posted in the newspaper, all the requirements of a public hearing, but we'd also do best effort to contact the individuals that would be impacted directly.
And that would include both home sites and just undeveloped land that is accessed by that store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Lot owners.
Lot owners, yeah, fine.
And we would assume that that would be certified mail.
So when
Yeah.
we started this conversation 2 years ago, people were notified because I was getting calls and, so again, a lot of these people have it's already on the radar, but that was the process. We just didn't go forward with it because we didn't have the information, we didn't have data, so.
We didn't go forward with it based on that, but also based on, it was later in the season. It was like August or September when this discussion was had.
Yeah,
I
that
think it
was the second time
One of
around.
my first meetings, so it was like September.
Yeah, too late.
And the concerns that were voiced in that time were, would those people be able to establish a plowing contractor for the following season?
Can I just correct one thing that was said?
Sure.
We didn't notify anybody.
Oh, we didn't?
No, we did not.
Was it posted somewhere? Because they all
It was
knew.
on the agenda, just like tonight's was on
Okay.
the agenda. I heard myself.
Yeah,
So
So-
we did not notify any homeowners, we didn't notify lot owners, we put it on the agenda, it was up for discussion, just like tonight's was.
Okay,
That's how people heard.
that's how because they all knew, so thank you.
So I went back to the minutes of the August 7th, 2023 meeting, which was a four-person board at that time, and it was Judy and Chris and Laura and Don. And the presentation then had virtually the same roads as these roads. There were only two that I think were in that list that are not on your list, Jordan, and that was Cram Road and Rooney Road. But there were also two that were not on that list that you now have, which is Lepper and Davison.
Yep.
So for the most part, these roads, as Laura says, these roads have been on the radar.
Yeah.
For a while.
And since then, I believe, there's one of those that you mentioned that was off of Garfield Road, Cram Road, I believe.
Graham, I mentioned Graham.
Another house was built on that one. So now it has 3 residents.
Okay.
So in
That's
that
what that's out.
regard, it serves public good. It's
Yep.
3 or more people are gaining access to it.
And what about Rooney Road?
I believe Rooney Road also has 3 on it.
Okay.
So that answers
We
why.
used to have 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does have a turnaround.
So, to move the conversation forward here, by consensus, does the board concur that we would look at all 19 roads that are being considered, are recommended by Jordan, and we would give Jordan and Brent our consensus to move forward with scheduling?
I'm good with that.
Yes.
That would be unanimous.
I think it has to be, like you said, Richard, time is of the essence so people can have their ducks in a row for winter on anything that we're gonna discontinue. We don't want this to drag out all summer and then in the fall tell somebody good luck.
Yeah. Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
I think you seem to be the target of all my questions, Brent. So we've got 2 bridges that are out, correct? Two bridges? Assume that we vote after the hearing to turn that road over to become private. And there's some kind of a structural failure in that, not an act of God, but something that was just wrong with that bridge, and let's pray it just collapses, nobody's on it. Do we have any liability there? Because we reassigned a bridge to outside of our purview.
If you visit these 2 bridges,
I've been to them both.
they're substantial structures, and one of them, it was mentioned that the road received damage in July of last year. The bridge didn't receive any damage, but the road was significantly damaged, and the amount of material that was dumped to regain access was substantial. These are pretty rugged bridges. Liability, we could have an inspection done by a professional if we wanted to limit liability. But that would just, if you are seriously considering this, that would cause probably quite a bit of extension in this process for those two.
Did we build the bridges or did the developer?
Oh, those, I would have to look back, but they look like they were, I don't know, Jordan, what do you think? Like, I doubt a developer put those bridges in. A developer would not put a bridge in like that.
They're single units, right?
Single unit.
So the wing walls and the deck are all one?
Yeah, so it's concrete abutments that are anchored directly into ledge with steel. And those abutments were poured with steel rebar coming out of them, and then a concrete bridge deck poured on top of it. So it's one solid unit that's directly anchored to ledge. They're very substantial. I believe they
Doesn't
both
sound like
have the state of Vermont stamp on them. They're you know, they appear to be a state engineered or an engineer.
I would absolutely agree with you, Jordan, but there's a substantial structure that we're turning over. If a replacement's 1.2 to 1.5, I just want to make sure that we as the town walk away.
Yeah, I can look into it further, George. I don't have like a.
Yeah, curious.
I mean, there's certainly methods of doing a structure inspection, but right now with engineers, like it takes literally months and months of follow-up to get a qualified engineer in here to do like simple matters. So this would be a simple matter for an engineer, but it would probably be months.
Well, it's a good thing we have one in the audience.
And honestly,
The other thing I was gonna say.
I haven't seen them, but I wonder if I could ask Brent.
I was just gonna say.
Microphone, Jerry.
No.
Oh, he's coming.
Jerry Throne. I wonder if I could ask Brent. Brent, do you know whether either of these bridges are on the inventory that you and I looked at, that the state inspected all the town bridges? Are they on that list?
That's what I was just about to say before, was that these are, we can look at the state bridge inventory and the bridge inspection list and see more details about these bridges on the bridge inspections by the state.
recent.
So then answer the question. It seems to me there are fairly recent inspections that could be looked at.
If that's available, that would be ideal. And we're on those bridges and they've been inspected. That would answer any question I've got, Jerry. Thank you.
Don't take it back. Thank you for all the work that you've put into this, and I was up here last year when this was first brought out to light by the previous road foreman. This is a suggestion, the one that you mentioned about serves the towns out on the Lower Elmer Mountain Road, that they don't want the town to maintain it. This is your opportunity to get an agreement from the property owner and go ahead and publicize it. And I guess you let the owners own the town road, and it's no longer a town road. So anyway, I question the 28 lots on the Neal property. I'm going to look at the tax map and see how I arrived at that number, because I have not seen anything in Act 250 or anything else where there's 28 lots proposed on that Neal Road. And I know the Neal family, they own over 1,000 acres here in the town. Last year, I commented about the Call Road. It is a long road, and it's dead end. And I guess it's difficult at the far end to turn around and make an agreement with the property owner to improve that turnaround. But the land that all borders that road all the way out to where the people live is conserved land. And so it's kind of hard to increase the lots on that particular property to meet the road policy. My other recommendation to you, since it's a recommendation to you to go out and look at these roads is maybe get comments from the fire department and the ambulance people, because they're the ones that really we have to look out for, that we don't get lawsuits. And because we aren't protecting them. If it's a private driveway, that's a little different issue. But now we're talking about more than downgrading. See, the other option is to downgrade these highways and leave them as they are. The call road, so it's not really single lane. You can maybe meet another vehicle, but how many vehicles are going out there to one residence? And that's the other thing. Do a study to see what is the daily traffic on a particular road. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ron.
Oh, Ron's thankless.
Yep. Is there anyone else? All right, well, thank you very much, Jordan.
Yes, thank you, Jordan, for this.
Thank you, Jordan.
Well done, as usual. I mean, we're getting spoiled. We're getting used to excellence.
We'll see you soon, I'm sure.
Sure.
Next up is consideration of a bike pedestrian grant application that requires a select board letter of support. And Mason Kemmerer, you're here to talk to us a little bit about it.
Hi, Mason Kemmerer, LaPorte Road. So this is a grant through VTrans for bicycle and pedestrian improvements. I've been working with Brent, Jordan, and Tyler to put something together for this. This particular part of the grant would cover a scoping study to look into LVRT connectivity improvements throughout the town, focusing on Portland, Pleasant, Railroad, Main Street, and then would extend onto Congress Street because it's such a high traffic commuter area in town. This grant is funded 80% federally, 20% from the town. The total requested amount to complete the scoping would be $50,000. The town would be covering $10,000 of that. There is a second stage of this grant. It's a separate application, but after the completion of scoping, you can apply for a design, right-of-way, acquisition, and construction grant, which is the same breakdown of 80% federally funded, 20% local funded. The main part that would be investigated by the scoping study would be bike lanes in town to connect the rail trail to our businesses. Just had our senator here praising the rail trail and all it is, and we should have better connections to invite people into town from there. Along with bike lane improvements, the study would investigate pedestrian safety improvements and traffic calming. And then there was one last item, which would be the feasibility of acquiring the grass patch at the corner of Congress and Main Street and realigning Congress Street to make a proper four-way intersection, which would improve safety for cars, bikes, pedestrians, all the sorts. And the beneficial part of going through the grant this way would be right-of-way acquisition and funding to reconstruct if the scoping was completed and then awarded the construction portion, that could also be funded through the grant. In the packet, I have two maps providing an outline of the scoping area and the Bridge Street intersection and Portland Street and Main Street intersection, since they're pretty high concern areas. And then also Morrisville points of interest map. Formatting got a little funky on these, but you get the gist should be able to get the gist from them. So yeah, I'm here tonight, along with the support of the town, to ask for approval and support from the select board and your guys' willingness to match the $10,000 that would be required for this grant.
So Mason, A couple of things. One is, you talked about federal grants, and in today's climate, is this federal money assured, or are we hoping that at some point, moving forward, if we do this first stage, which is the $50,000 and the $10,000 match in that, where does this go? I mean, if there's no federal money grants, Morristown does not have the resources to complete projects that you're talking about.
For sure.
So, I don't, from a fiduciary point of view, we do have money in the Bridge and Infrastructure Fund to pay the $10,000 for this, but I don't want to throw this money at a study that has no legs.
Sure. Yeah, so this year I was told there's at least $3 million that is definitely available this year. Last year it was up to $7 million due to like a carbon emissions funding grant also, which that part is up in the air this year on how much is available. The state wasn't sure. And yeah, the certainty of years to come is up in the air, but having a scoping study done, there would be alternatives that I feel would be feasible for the town to complete on their own. A lot of it would just be line striping type work. Obviously, realigning the intersection at Congress and Main Street would be probably out of our hands if there weren't a grant to help fund that, but some of the ideas that could come forward from the scoping, I could see feasible from the town on their own.
The grant that you're applying for, does it work on estimated costs to do these other things, or is it just whether, investigating the possibility of?
That would be part of the scoping, would be coming up with estimated costs for projects.
Construction costs?
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question. Yeah.
Yep, I think that sort of surmises where I'm coming from right now.
So the intersection of Congress and Main,
Yes,
that corner property is privately owned. Have you talked to that owner?
yes. And they are interested in selling to the town.
Okay, because we talked in length about straightening that out, and there were some,
I've seen the conceptual
Yeah.
plans for that.
so you know the problems with it.
Yeah.
And that Cumberland Farms loses a driveway, which was,
I suppose, yeah, I mean.
which was the big, never gonna happen.
Gotcha.
Just saying, you're aware of it and you've talked to him, so that's.
So I did not talk to Cumberland Farms. I was in contact
I
with.
just a heads up that was, in talking with all the parties concerned, was
Yep.
that the realignment would shift a property, would shut down that driveway, which
So I think,
just anticipation was there would be a big legal, and it sounds like you're on it.
in fairness to that,
Yeah.
the original proposal was to create housing between the new route of Congress Street and Cumberland Farms, which would have interrupted some access and egress.
Yeah.
Not knowing the conversations you're having with the current owner of that property, the corner property, it would be presumptuous for us to assume anything at this point.
So that's good to know.
Yeah, in my discussions, the property owner is interested in the town taking over the rights of that. So it would be
Yeah, things
right of way
change, right?
from Congress to, where the old post office is at that point. And I'm sure there'd be a way to make access to
Yeah.
Cumberland Farms still.
So full disclosure, I have had a couple of conversations with the property owner, and at the same time, Mason came to us with this grant and another one. We, not the property owner, but Jordan Mason and myself, maybe a couple of other people involved with the administration, agreed that it would be better for Jordan to move forward with another associated grant. I think they're called minor and major. Is that?
Yeah, mine, there's a small and a large project. So mine would be small, which is more suited for reconstructions than alterations and scoping studies. And
Okay.
I used a portion for sidewalk reconstructions. And then this one needed more of a scoping aspect to it, which made it a good fit for Mason.
And originally, this one did not plan on including Congress and Main Street into it. But after a couple of discussions with the landowner, and what we're looking at with a police department that doesn't, it's not adequate, fire department where we pay extra for trucks because the bays are too short, I expressed that I can't speak on behalf of the select board, but I can tell you they'll have concerns with potentially a land purchase, with all these other things going on and without some sort of evaluation of whether or not that would improve traffic flow. So I made the introduction of Mason and the landowner so that they could have discussions and and Mason could consider whether or not that would be good to be included in this. Now, just because it's included doesn't mean that we have to move forward, but it could open doors for us eventually in the future to capture dollars if the federal climate changes. And we all know that there's a pendulum with, so I just wanted to put that out there. I've had a couple of conversations with the current owner, introduced him to Mason, and just so you're all aware. And I'm happy to fill you in on more details, but really it's just been listening and providing, like my thoughts about, what potential concerns there could be.
Well, and there is the old Walgreens, which is a fluid situation too, because that's always been a concern, I know, with the owner of that property.
Is that a Louis Ferris building?
Yes.
And in the application, I requested that 3 alternative options would come out of the scoping study. So I assume you would be able to pick and choose parts you liked of some, or go fully with one. And it could be from, simple, just put one bike lane on Portland Street, or up to, reconfiguring the intersection and traffic reconfigurations or whatnot.
Of options.
Mason, several months ago, we had a presentation by a group who had done exploration of turning the Pleasant Street, Railroad Street, Main Street.
That was me.
That was
Upper
Mason.
Main. That was you.
That was me.
How does a one-way flow of traffic, if that was to happen, affect scoping here?
We allow the engineers to answer that. Like, in this, if you read this, we're not like pointing them in that direction.
Okay.
He is an engineer, so an engineer might say that could work, but as people have said, there are issues that have to be settled because it would create more truck traffic. So
I just asked in the application and request that the one-way would be investigated further.
Okay.
They might find that it's not possible, but
There are issues
I
with
personally find it to be a good alternative, and have had approval from other engineers who agreed with it, so I personally would like it to be investigated more, but that might not be the best option that comes out of the scoping study.
So I think, for us to qualify for any proposed grants, we need to start with a scoping study. That's sort of the pro forma moving forward.
Yes, at least for this grant in particular, to go to construction, you have to have a scoping study to apply for that one.
So there is money available to do this. It possibly could open up doors for some infrastructure improvements. I think that I would be receptive to that. What do you think, Richard?
I appreciate the idea of a scoping study, and there is money, $10,000 is what you're looking for contribution to that. And I'm certainly not an engineer, but I've got some concerns around the discussions that we've had in the recent past about parking and the limited amount of parking we have on Portland Street. And to add a bike lane, I am all for recreating and running and biking, and I'm frustrated by the bicycles that are driving up the sidewalks. I've got concerns about safety issues for those bicyclists, given the narrowness of that road in particular. There's 2 tractor trailer trucks there, there's not room for a half a bicycle to fit.
Of course, yeah.
So I don't know, just given, like we said at a meeting a couple months ago, that Morristown, the parking places were developed and the buildings were put in when we had horse and buggies, not when we had tractor trailers. So we have a finite amount of space between the facades of the buildings on the east and west of Portland Street. So that's my only piece there, is there enough room? Do we need some, and that sounds kind of, I don't know, my position is, does that sound, I'm not an engineer, but I know that there's only so many feet in that right of way.
Yep.
And is there any possible way we could include a bike lane without losing the parking that we have and maintaining safety on Portland Street in particular?
And that is what the scoping study would look into, the trade-offs of each alternative, yeah.
Right, that's what's
Of
going
course.
in my head right now is maybe $10,000, we may have it, which is that's what my head is.
Yeah.
I'd like to know where this $10,000 is.
It's in the Bridge and Infrastructure Fund.
So after all of the, we currently have 700 and, God, I'm getting old. $769,648.18 in our Bridge, Sidewalk, and Infrastructure Reserve Fund. We are expecting from Article 6 of this last fiscal year that was passed an additional $230,914 for infrastructure. Highway Structures Grant, $200,000, Class 2 Grant, $151,000. Water and light portion of paving, Portland Street, and then potential state portion of FEMA funds, $16,624. So we're expecting total income anticipated in fiscal year 25-26 of approximately $612,000. So with the current infrastructure balance and the total income anticipated, $1.381 or $382 million. But then when we expend for all of the road improvements, sidewalk improvements, we're estimating that infrastructure reserve fund will be drawn down to $63,000 roughly. So there is money available, and this could set us up for future federal funds if the climate improves. With $63,000, next year we're going to be looking at paving, and this year we were fortunate enough to get approximately $230,000 passed for roads, and so we'll have to. That's something I'm already evaluating for next year, like what we'll be able to do with approximately $63,000 remaining in that reserve fund.
Which would brought down to $53,000.
Right.
Right. And that's kind of the other piece of where I was saying is we're not close to being done with our roads.
George?
I have reservations. It's not that it's not a bad idea to scope it out, Mason. But if we're down to 63,000, thank you for doing that homework for us, but I think we better be real careful with our pennies right now. And we've got a budget that we know is extremely tight. It may get tighter based on the action we took earlier today about not getting any money from Elmore, which I still support, but it's another pinch on the revenue side. $63,000 is not a lot of cushion for Jordan to work with. That's a tiny contingency of what Jordan is dealing with on a regular basis, forget an emergency basis. So I don't have hesitations with this idea, I have hesitations with the money. I'm not knocking the idea, it's not, I'm hesitant.
Yeah, I think, I personally would love to see Oxbow Park turned into a recreation area where you rent bikes, rent e-bikes. And that has always been, you know, the idea is that if you centralize the recreation area, then it feeds up into town. Again, given Main Street, I live on Randolph and people are biking there all the time and, you know, I'd love to see a bike path on Randolph. Right down Main Street, I don't know. But I think ultimately the issue comes down to money. I run the Morrisville Farmers Market and I can tell you, people are scared to death. Everybody's hanging on to every cent. We've got tax bills coming, you know, and just such uncertain future with the federal government that I just would be hard pressed to approve it. And it breaks my heart because this is where we need to go. But I just don't think, I think it would be fiscally irresponsible going forward. I hate to say that, but thank you so much for your work.
No worries, thank
And,
you.
I think you're ahead of your time.
So I'll just say one more thing and then we'll open it up to any of the public that would like to speak to it. I think that, you know, $60,000 or $50,000 isn't going to pay much. You know, we were fortunate enough to get 2 cents on the special article to put toward the bridge and infrastructure plan to make sure that we had enough money to do the things that we needed to do. But on the other side of this equation, sometimes you got to spend a little money in hopes that you'll get other money to do infrastructure. And there is a risk reward to that aspect. You know, I don't think that there's any question that we're going to have to be resourceful moving forward if we expect to replace a police station, you know, do the things that we need to do over on Cochrane Road to the town highway garage. You know, there's an abundance of infrastructure that we need to do, and we need to figure out a way to pay for all of that. I think it's too bad. I understand the hesitation on the 10,000. That was my first reaction, quite frankly. That, you know, is this really, you know, going to be fruitful? But after having several conversations with folks, again, you know, sometimes you got to spend some money in hopes that you can qualify for other stuff to help do the things that you'd like to do. And whether it bears fruit or not, I guess that's the risk reward piece of it. Before we take any action, I'd open it up to the public for comment.
And can I just ask, what's the timeline on the grant? Are we on a deadline or is it revolving?
Application is due July 11th. Awards would be given end of August. And then the timeline for scoping would wrap up in winter, spring of 2027, which then puts you in time for the next round of grant if construction were to be pursued.
27 or 26?
27.
Wow, that's a
It's a year and a half away.
Yeah,
Alex?
okay.
So my concern is, you know, not only the availability of federal funding, but a lot of the news about lawsuits against the federal government over the last few months have been grants cut off, not only after they've been awarded, but after the work has been done, and just the president telling departments, you know, don't pay for the work that's already been done on the grants that have already been assigned. And so the possibility is the town gets the grant, spends the 50,000, not just 10,000, and then suddenly the 40,000 is not coming, and maybe that can be litigated for, but maybe that takes years, maybe it never comes. And in the meantime, there's $10,000 in the reserve fund, and if there is a sudden need for a large expenditure, we've spent the money.
Anyone else? Dan?
This is a reimbursement grant, not a pay, yeah. Yeah, good point.
My comments are, I really like the idea around the funding. I didn't know if, I know that Morrisville, downtown, Portland Street in particular, is an area of regional impact. And because of that, there may be other funding or other creative financing that may come through the Regional Planning Commission. And I don't know that you've already talked to them or not.
This goes pending approval. We go to the LCPC next.
The LCPC also has a lot, especially for alternative transportation. They have had grants available. I don't know of a specific one now, but I think it's worth extending the conversation a little bit more, even around this grant and the timeline. There might be something that's already available that they are aware of, and I'm not sure that they are or they're not, but I just would like to bring it up. We often shortchange ourselves, even around the federal government, which I do understand the fear right now and the fear around our own budgetary process. And so we keep looking in our back pocket, and it's not enough there. Why don't let's keep looking around, because there are things hiding under rocks around here, you know. I think there is anyway.
All right, thanks, Dan. Anyone else?
Jerry Throne. Being on the Conservation Commission and also not really an official member, but a member of the ad hoc wellness committee, I feel this is an important thing that we should help to promote. And it's an opportunity for us to get professional advice as to how we can improve circulation in the town, which is something that is in the town plan. It's some of the goals of the town plan. And I just think that we could be scared about what the federal government may or may not do. But, you know, I don't like to operate on fear. So I like to operate on things we know, positive things. This would be a very positive step towards improving the town, and it would have a domino effect, a good domino effect. I think it would bring more commerce and more people into the town, would spend more money. I think businesses would like to locate here. I think that if we ever get all the housing that we want to see added to the center of town, that this would be helpful towards promoting that. If I had the $10,000, I'd give it to you right now, but I don't. So I'm hoping that you'll see past some of the concerns or fears and the what-ifs and approve this plan.
Thanks, Jerry. Anyone else? Evelyn?
Not so. Evelyn Throne. When I moved into this town, I realized that I lived along Congress Street, and that was really nice because we could walk right into town. There is a real problem, though, with pedestrian safety crossing the street, partly because of how fast the cars go. I've said that before. And this could go a long way to keeping the town safer. And, you know, there are definitely financial considerations to that. There's also the beauty of it, you know, having a town that is more compelling. Obviously, you're doing a lot of work with that, and I've complimented you on that, but having a town that's more compelling and more walkable and more pedestrian friendly is what people are looking for now. They really are. They're looking for that in every town. And so I agree that there's some concerns, but we have somebody who has a lot of passion now too. And there's an investment in that, investment in the human capital here of someone who is helping us shepherd us through a process. And I'd hate to see it go on so long with everybody operating out of fear that we don't move forward with a positive goals that someone is working very hard on, but not for himself, for us, and I do think there's a lot to be said for it.
Thanks, Evelyn. Anyone else? What's your pleasure? Would you want to make a motion and put it to a vote to see where it lands?
I'd like to make another comment after this conversation, and not just, my comment about Portland Street. This isn't a study, just to step back a little bit. This is a study to see, and I've been an advocate of making our community more inviting to young people, because everyone in this room mostly is older, except for a couple of you guys.
Thank you.
Especially you. So this is a study. So Portland Street, I mean, if we have a study, I'm assuming there would be different avenues that would be explored by this study. And maybe Portland wouldn't fall under some sort of a bike lane or something like that. And I would assume that the study would also look at the other pieces of the puzzle to maintain what we currently have in Morristown. Maybe a bike lane that goes down Pleasant Street and doesn't encompass Portland might fall under that. So that's a little bit of a different perspective, because I would like our town to have more young people live in our community, and older people that want to walk around a little bit too.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
I think we need a motion.
I would concur with that. I'm just waiting for somebody to make a motion.
I will say that, 10,000 is one thing, but I know farmers who have put infrastructure in and are gonna go out of business because the federal government, and that is a huge concern. There's just, because it's just at the whim of who knows who. And so 10,000 is one, but 50,000 would just be, I'd have a really hard time explaining that to.
Yeah, I can't speak
No.
detailed in the financials of how the grant works, but if awarded, you sign a contract with the state, which, I mean, if they don't have funding, they don't have funding, but
Is the money here in the state?
that's what I'm not sure, if it is in V-Trans hand to a lot, or if it's V-Trans awards and then it.
Yeah, because if it's here, it's ours, but if we've got to get
So I
it from the
believe that,
government.
my
we don't
understanding
know.
is that it is coming from V-Trans.
it
When
is.
being reimbursed, you submit receipts to
I thought it's
V-Trans
already
and then
here.
are reimbursed by V-Trans. I wouldn't be concerned about if this grant were awarded. I don't know the details of how the funding works of it though.
It's here.
But in the future of it, could be up in the air for construction, but
But
I'm sure there would be alternate routes at that time to get funding if the town wanted to pursue, but for the scoping portion,
Mason, do you have a timeline for the scope work?
by 2027 is when scoping would be
So it'll be
completed.
stretched out over a year?
It's like a year after, so the grant would be awarded in August, and then I think you go through an RFP process to get a consultant, and then it would be year and a half to complete scoping.
And the vast majority of that is for consultants?
Yeah, so I think I imagine it would be a
Like
pretty
90%.
upfront cost and then quick reimbursement from the state. They claim a 2 to 4 week reimbursement after submitting.
I'll move to authorize Vice Chair Chris Palermo to sign a letter of support for the town's application to the Vermont Bike and Pedestrian Grant Program and commit $10,000 in local funds as a required match for the scoping study.
Is there a second?
I'll second to put it on the table.
So we have a motion by Richard and a second by George. Is there any other discussion?
Yes. So a consultant or consultants, could we contract with them to have the caveat that says we'll continue this process as long as reimbursement funds keep flowing to us? So we go out and we spend $10,000 in consultants, they bill us, we do our 20%, send the 80% down to the state, they say, sure, here's your check.
I assume that would,
We keep going.
yeah, I assume that could be written in to the contract with the state. I'm not sure how the details of.
You understand what I'm trying to say, Moses?
Yeah.
We'll keep going with the state as long as they pony up. As soon as they don't pony up,
Yes.
the hammer drops and we obviously pay the consultants for whatever work they've done. We're not gonna stiff them, but we can't keep going.
Yeah.
Assuming that the state will allow us
Yeah.
to do
I-
incremental payments.
We don't know that.
Yeah, I'm not certain of how that portion of it works. I can reach out to the guy in charge of the grant and get.
I'd be
If you have
surprised.
questions, you can reach out to me and we can.
We could condition this motion, or you could amend it to condition it upon whether or not these funds are currently secured by the state.
Yes.
I don't know if that would help with some of the concern, but between the two of us, we can get an answer relatively quickly. The problem is
July 11th.
the deadline is approaching and it requires select board. So if you do the motion contingent, we can get an answer and not have to come back to a select board meeting where you would need to vote again. We also need to provide this to LCPC. I don't foresee any concerns, but first step is.
It would change.
Well, the other part of this is that you make the motion tonight, you take a look at the contract, you ask the question about the funding. Because we've authorized it tonight, doesn't necessarily mean that we sign off on the check. That would give us some wiggle room in terms of between now and when you have to move forward with this. So I think that rather than to make it a contingent motion, we move it tonight. And if you find out things are different, or they're not sure about the funding, or it's not cash in hand at the AOT or VTrans, then we just wouldn't move forward with it. And we're not signing any orders tonight for it. What we're doing is making a motion to say that we're
Supporting
willing
it
to
and
spend
saying you're willing
$10,000
to
and
match.
we're offering up $10,000 in support.
And Brent, you don't feel that we need to put contingents in that? That we need to state the contingent, because.
Well, now that you've stated this publicly, I'm definitely not gonna cross you. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can be as cautious as you want, put contingencies in, but you've stated publicly about this, so not only will I be ensuring that we don't,
Okay.
well, I mean, we still have to be awarded the grant, this is competitive.
Right, yeah.
So there's a lot of
There's a lot of
processing to go forward, but,
Yep.
you know, I'll make note, just based upon this conversation, that we won't sign off on this unless we have some certainties. I'll probably bring it from the select board again, you know, down the road if we are awarded it.
We just had a lot of vague agreements that I'm afraid of going forward. Well, that's not what I thought, that's what I thought, and, so. If
I understand.
you're comfortable with that.
This motion also states $10,000. It doesn't state it can continue to be on there in the motion.
Right, but we can make the motion at the contingency of the motion, but it sounds like we don't need
I
to.
mean, the concern that was brought up was that we'd be on the hook for the entire 50,000.
If the feds were to pull back and we'd already expended.
That's more where we're at. We're limited to 50,000 by this motion, or 10,000 by this motion.
Correct. Yeah, this is just agreeing that you will match the 20%
Still
that.
assuming that everything works out.
Because the grant isn't in
Understood.
hand right now.
Yes.
The grant is an application.
This is an application,
What we're
yes.
saying
Yes.
is that we're willing to pony up $10,000 if the grant is awarded.
Correct.
So you get the language on the grant,
Check it
Now the
again.
cash is in hand, and then we move forward. But all we're saying tonight is that we like the idea, and we're willing to commit $10,000, and you submit the grant. You may not get it.
Correct.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All right, so all those in
Thank you very
favor of
much.
the motion say aye.
Aye.
That would be unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you for all your
Thank you,
work,
Mason.
Mason. That's great.
May I just really publicly thank Mason?
Yeah, it's huge.
He is somebody who is involved in so many capacities and, you know, communicating, making sure that we're aware of these grants. And then, you know, when I admit we don't have the capacity to apply for this grant, he stepped up and he put together a great grant application. And so I just want to publicly thank you so much.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, thank you.
I would second that. This has been great to work with, for community gardens and everything else.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Mason.
Good luck.
Old business. None?
Sorry.
Old business?
None.
All right. So approve the warrants. Okay, we have a motion by Richard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by George. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving warrants, say aye.
Aye.
That'd be unanimous. In terms of future schedule, Thursday, June 26th, we have a public hearing on proposed zoning bylaws in this room at 5:30. And Monday, July 21, we have a regularly scheduled select board meeting at 5:30.
First,
Yes.
just note that I'll be on vacation June 26th. And so Tyler is going to be here and will help with finalizing minutes and doing things of that nature.
And this is at-
Tyler Misha?
And this is here at the town offices.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Judy. Any other business? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Richard?
Just one thing quick, since we're not meeting again until July 21st. We probably should add an update on 4th of July, but I guess it's a moot point at this time, because we don't meet again. I guess it's too late. Status update, money, but nothing we can do about that now.
We've raised, we introduced a new program that isn't event-specific. And so we've raised more than we raised last year, and we've raised enough to cover the 4th of July. It's not specific to the 4th of July.
Okay.
And we had to sign the contract for the fireworks, like, so everything is being planned as the norm. Next meeting, I can provide updates on,
Next meeting's not till July 21st, and I guess it is what it is. I just wish we'd thought about it. It's all right.
Sure. And after this conversation about road hearings, all likelihood that'll begin the second week of July. So,
Yeah.
we'll probably have meetings before the 21st now.
All right, anything
Who
else?
did the second, who seconded the adjournment?
George wasn't yet, but George, yes.
Just keep it consistent for you.
So all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
All right.
That would be unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mason.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mason.